Munson has reported almost 80 positive blood tests over the last 2 weeks, and that's a lot more than in previous weeks, but I think it's not as many as we're going to see in the weeks to come.
Okay, yeah, and just to make sure, those nearly 80, that's just regular influenza then, correct?
That's influenza A and influenza B, but almost all of them were influenza A. And we assume that many of those, if not most, are H1N1 because of what they're finding nationwide. But we can't be certain of that because not all those are sub-tested in that way to know whether they're H1N1 or not.
Now, when you say influenza A and B, what distinguishes those from other types of influenzas?
Well, that really covers all the influenzas. They're basically divided into these two families. Influenza B is usually not as serious, and it isn't as capable of doing genetic drifting and suddenly presenting in ways that aren't covered by the flu vaccine. One of the problems that, the main problem in 2009 was that suddenly this new H1N1 strain was brand new and it wasn't covered by the vaccine then, and the population wasn't immune to it, and it caused a pandemic and many more cases of much more serious illness than what should be true this year, because now it is part of the vaccine, and people who have gotten the vaccine should be relatively protected against the H1N1 strain that we're seeing this year.
Are you worried because this is not exactly the peak of the flu season yet, and you guys are already seeing decently high numbers? Are you guys worried about the flu this year at all?
The flu can take on a life of its own. We won't see our peak until January, February, and it may slow down all of a sudden, or we might have more cases. I really can't say.
Okay. What about that you've had a lot more H1N1 cases this year? Does that trouble you guys at all?
I think that was pretty well expected.
It was?
Yes.
Why do you think it was expected?
Well, they look every year. They look at the previous year, and the World Health Organization, the CDC, get together and they look at what they think will be most prevalent. And they thought H1N1 would be one of the viruses that were very prevalent.
Any reason why, though, since it's been out of the, I don't know, out of the mix since 2009?
Well, they look every year, and they actually look at all of the different labs throughout the country, and what is the trend, or the drift, we call it, the trend or drift. And so they knew that from the previous years that this would be one of the viruses that would be prevalent this year.
Okay, so you guys were expecting it. You're not really overly concerned about it.
The concern is that it tends to be affect younger people, and they tend to get very sick. That's the concern. But knowing that it was coming, no, we knew that would probably happen.
Gotcha. Now, what are these people coming in like? What are some of the symptoms that you guys have seen a lot?
It varies with their background and the condition of their health when they come in. But we're seeing cough, fever, aches, headache, sometimes diarrhea, vomiting.
Now, sometimes I know with the flu, people can decide that they can just handle it on their own and stay home. At what point do you think people need to make a trip to their doctor or to the ER?
A lot of it depends on their symptoms. Most patients or people at home will get a temperature, the body aches, just what I mentioned before, the cough, sneezing, head congestion. But if it's out of the ordinary, something that they haven't, they feel like they're not getting better and not progressing, their temperature keeps going up, they can't keep food down, then they need to be seen.
Okay. Anything else you think?
No, I'm sure Dr. Collins drove this point home, but again,
What?
Munson's
He said the same
message
thing?
is no, but as far as the key to prevention, what are the couple of things, including vaccine, what are some of the key to infection prevention?
To prevent the flu, number one, stay away from people who are sick. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Cover your cough and your sneezes, and make sure that you've had the vaccine. The concern is that it tends to be affect younger people, and they tend to get very sick. That's the concern. But knowing that it was coming, no, we knew that that would probably happen.
Most years it's the very young or the very old people or those who have other significant illnesses who are the only ones who get seriously ill. But with this H1N1 strain of this year, it seems to be capable of making even adolescents or young adults who are perfectly healthy become very, very sick.